So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
What's the matter with that cat there?
Must be full of reefer.
Full of reefer?
Yeah, man.
You mean that cat's high?
Sailing.
Sailing?
Lightly.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Radio.net, featuring Newshawks, Kim Cooper, and myself, Al Graham, as we bring you Canadian and international cannabis news. And this week, we're going to touch on the news from June the 12th to the 18th, 2018. Hello, Kim. How are you today?
I'm pretty excited right now. We just got some breaking news that has come in within the last hour that we're excited to talk about.
Yes. Well, and it happens to do with our lead story, too. As you know, we always start off with what's happening here in Canada with the legalization in the Senate.
Yeah, legalization in the Senate has been our top story of the day for many, many weeks over the course of this 2018 here. We've had a hell of a year of a roller coaster ride, and it's not over yet, but we've gone one step further. The government has voted to pass legalization. They've amended the bill and gone back to the Senate with their revised version today within the last hour. So back to the Senate we go.
Yeah, it passed in the House of Commons today. The with the changes, the ones that they accepted from the Senate and the ones that they rejected, obviously, were thrown to the trash. And the vote was 205 to 82.
Yeah. So big numbers for, curious numbers for the against. Makes you kind of head scratch that there's that many that are against this bill as it stands. Not a lot of talk about the amendments that they have said yes to. There's been a heavy concentration on the key three, I think, but a lot of gray areas about the others.
Yeah, they just talk about it being technical stuff. But what's technical?
Yeah, what's technical? Now, I haven't had the time, sadly, to look into all of it, but I've been contacted by a few people that have, and I'm being told some strange things. So I'm going to be spending the next few days going over exactly what this is entailing. Some people are saying there's more punitive measures against trafficking and possession over the amount that's legally allowed. More punitive measures against people that are consuming the plants. So I'm going to take a look at it.
Yeah, there are more charges available for the police than while it was illegal.
Yeah,
and some of those the fines, some of the jail sentences are much harsher. And the one that seems to get a lot of the attention is the fact that if a 19-year-old guy passes a joint to a 17-year-old girlfriend, with 2 years difference, nothing wrong there.
Yeah.
He could be facing 14 years in jail.
Yeah, that's right. Kurt Tusaw brought this up during the debate on this, and he brought it up to the Senate, and he made note of that. And right now, there's legislation, there's rules that within a certain amount of years that doesn't apply. So if it's your brother, your sister, your girlfriend, whatever it is, your friend, your peer group, if they're within your peer group, then the police can't apply those laws. So I think we need to look further into whether or not that's one of the amendments that they're looking at in this or not, because it certainly should be.
Yeah, well, one of the changes they said, one of those technical changes, would be there was to be a review in 3 years' time on the impact on the health, youth, Indigenous people, as well as the home growing thing. So basically reviewing a bunch of different segments of the bill in a 3-year period, but instead that's going to be done in 18 months. So that's an example of one of those changes.
Yeah, 18 months.
So
Yeah, interesting stuff anyway. We've got our reading and our studying ahead of us, that's for sure, to find out all of the ins and outs of this bill. Throughout history, the Senate has never rejected a final proposal coming out of the government. So the likelihood is that this is going to pass in the Senate and receive final assent, and we'll be looking at legalization at some point this year.
Yes. I agree that now when it's gone back the second time to the Senate that, most often it is passed. But, this is something different.
It is.
Yes, it is. Just see what happens.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Brand new territory for the Senate and for the government. So we'll have to wait and see. Another wait and see. But at least the end is getting there. I mean, we've been saying wait and see for how long now, right? We'll keep you posted. We'll update you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, to go along with those amendments and things, there was the one Tory MP that had a concern about Canada Day.
Yeah, this MP is something else, I gotta tell you. I listened to this tape that it is. We're talking about a story that's out of Global News right now. Tory MP from Sarnia-Lambton, her name is Marilyn Gladu. She's calling for a government ban to stop the production of disgusting, is her word, clothing and paraphernalia promoting cannabis. I'm going to quote the lady in this. She said her constituents are telling her, people are worried that when marijuana is legalized in Canada, that they're going to use Canada Day to come out with flags with cannabis plants on them, and everyone will be wearing T-shirts with cannabis on them, and it's just disgusting, she said.
Wow. Has she never heard of global marijuana marches? She's never heard of 420 events. And as we discussed before we came on the air, this Cannabis Day events have been happening in different cities here in Canada for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, people have been celebrating Cannabis Canada Day events for over a decade. We're going over a dozen years. We're coming up on the 15-year mark in some cities across this globe that have used, across the country that have used Canada Day as a celebration for Cannabis Day. I myself hosted one in Northern Ontario over 3 years ago. This will be the 4th anniversary for that this year.
Yeah, Peterborough had them for 7 years, and this year is the 9th one for Oshawa.
Yeah, I mean, we've had Canada flags replace the maple leaf with a cannabis pot leaf on the middle of it. For almost 15 years, I recall seeing them. So this is not new, and it's not everyone is going to be showing up in pot T-shirts. Well, you know what? If everyone does, then no one will object, will they?
So, yeah, this is the same MP that told everybody that the youth are smoking cannabis out of toaster ovens.
Yeah, so I mean, look at where it's coming from. I mean, we always have to look at the source.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we know that now that the House of Commons has sent it back to the Senate.
Yes.
What are we looking at here what's the chances as far as when cannabis could be legalized? Could it be legalized by the end of this week?
No, of course not. It takes after it passes in the Senate, it goes to royal assent. Provinces are saying they need a minimum of 60 to 90 days, even longer, depending on where you live, before they're ready to go.
But they could be voting on it by the end of this week.
Yes, they could be voting on it, and if it passes royal assent, then once the stores and the online sales are set up and ready to go, then that's when it becomes legal. So the way the government is looking at this is, even though it's legal on paper, if you don't have a legal means to buy it, then where did you get it from? You must be using black market material, and that material is still illegal.
Yeah, they're going to put a delay. They want that 8 to 12 weeks so the stores can get loaded and all that stuff. They say it can't be done beforehand because it's not legal. So according to Bill Blair, we're looking at September as far as it being available across the country.
Yeah, September is the date that the country is gearing for. Now, depending on where you live, it could be longer.
Yes, it sure can. It sure can be. Let's we'll discuss that in a minute. It could be longer. Hey, because you and I, we've discussed this in the past. Like delays could actually make it until Christmas before cannabis even is in some stores.
Yeah, it all depends on how prepared for legalization your province and community is. Are you one of the people that are already scheduled to have something in place? Then great. Is your municipality and province doing anything to make sure that that actually happens? Great. If they're not, well, that's another story.
Yes, it is another story for sure.
Yeah.
So you think, if it comes back, it could be, it could be technically end up being legal here in September, but I guess we'll find out. They could still be playing. They could play ping pong with this, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah. This could be an incident where it does go back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. And there's been a lot of talk about the provinces and the provinces being ready. But there's been very, very little discussion on the online sales portion that the federal government is supposed to be handling, because then they're supposed to take care of the jurisdictions, municipalities, and even provinces that are opting out, so to speak, and saying, no, we don't want it in our area, and taking care of the consumers in those particular areas. So there's been very little talk on whether and when and a timeline that system is going to be ready to go as well.